So, of course, today we're going to be looking at Chapter 4 is all about text. All right. And the type of text that we're going to be looking at, some of it you're going to be, uh, maybe it may seem redundant for you, but we're going to go through this, and the best way to build fluency with your HTML is to practice. So we're going to be looking at things like your paragraph tag, your EM tag, your site, code, article. We're going to look at how to do abbreviations, emphasis versus the italics, and strong versus the bold, a number of different things. All right, so in your Work 2 samples, go ahead and right click on it, say New File. We're just going to call this sample.html. And we'll start this off by typing HTML, hit enter. We'll allow Adam to create the major textual elements for us. All right, so let's look at paragraphs again. Now again, this is very important that you follow along with me as we're doing this, and so you can learn. So typing a paragraph, we use the P tag, and we always close it with another P tag. And this represents a paragraph item. So whatever you type here will be separated by appropriate spacing. You can type a bunch of text and it will automatically wrap. All right, so we have that. Let's go ahead and take your file, and you want to open this file now in Chrome. So we're going to go up to File, Open File in Chrome, and I'm going to go to my NMC folder, go to my Work 2 samples, and click on the sample HTML. Now as I open it, we have here is the text, right? To demonstrate that this will wrap, I'm just going to take this and copy, hit enter a couple of times here so I can space the text out, and just paste like crazy. All right, I'm going to save it. I'll come up here and refresh, and you can see that it does what it says it does. It wraps it. If we look at our paragraph, you can of course copy this and put another paragraph and the same content again, and if you refresh it, you see that it provides that automatic spacing, the separation that we're looking for. All right, so this is the paragraph tag, and of course we've already used that one. Oops. Let me find my... Did I close my... I sure did. All right, let me open that back up. It's annoying. Okay, so that's the paragraph tag. And we have other textual elements that we're going to be using. For example, we're going to be using the EM. So inside of our paragraph, we could surround something like type with EM. Remember always to practice to opening tag and closing tags. Okay. We go back to our page. We refresh it. You can see that here is type. It is now, it's italicized. So we can do this with larger pieces of text. We can say EM and then put an entire section. Oops. Here we go. Save it, come back over and refresh. And of course you can see over here, here's this entire section that's italicized using the EM tag. The other tags that we have are cite, citing works of art, movies, books, etc., right? We have code. This is designed for lines of code. Now I'm going to skip over cite for a moment, but let's go ahead and take a look at code. We're gonna be looking at cite in a few minutes, but let's go ahead. Inside of our paragraph tag, we're going to select a piece of text. We're going to surround it with the code element, and I'm just going to randomly pick to about right there. Click Save. We'll come back over to our browser and we'll refresh it. And you can see that what it does is it changes the font into a type of font that you would see on a text editor, right? So you'll often see me use something like this terminal window. It's designed to have a little bit different text. Now I often use a text more like that. I use something that kind of stands out to me. But when you're writing your code, you want it to be separated and look different. For example, if we go back into our paragraph here, let's hit enter, and above it we're going to put another paragraph tag, and then we're going to put a closing paragraph tag, and then in here we're going to say I have some code that I typed. We'll write code, hit enter, closing code. Now this is very useful for demonstrating something maybe that you've written and you're trying to put it out on the web. For example, in my Java class I teach, sometimes I have to take code that I've written and put samples up on the page, and this is how I would do that. I would do it exactly like this. Omar might recognize this. You recognize this, Omar? He's ignoring me. Are you just having nightmares right now? You guys are gonna have to poke Omar. I think he's ignoring us. All right. So the code, wrapping this in code will make it appear differently on the page. And just to demonstrate, you don't have to type out all of that, but just to demonstrate what it looks like, you can see that it now looks different, right? It stands out different on the page. And we could then do something further. We could put line breaks and so forth to make it stand out. All right, so that's the code. And then of course we have article. And semantically, it's a good idea to use article to wrap your paragraphs, but you don't always have to use it, okay? You don't always have to use article for displaying things, but semantically it makes sense. So it looks like it was trying to be too helpful for me. So if we take that, I've got this whole paragraph now wrapped in article. If I refresh it, doesn't show anything different, right? Kind of looks the same. But if we inspect it, we'll see that there's the article right here, and it's wrapped, and inside of it you could see what's there. Again, remember that the importance for some of this is for the semantics of your screen readers. It helps those with disabilities when they look at content for it to be easier to be read to them and so forth. All right, let's go ahead and consider the next item we have here. So we have fine print, strong, emphasized. So we have, again, here's our code. I'm going to go back and close that right there. Let's say that we want, some small print right here. Copyright 2020, let's see, August 27, 2020, and of course I'm going to close it with small, right? So come back over here, we save it, and then you can see that there it is, it put it in small print. So the small print gives the standard like small legal text that you might see, or if you want it to be set apart in a particular way. The other one that we have is the strong. So if we want something to really pop, say we want our copyright, well, let me back up. Say we want the first word of this paragraph to show up. We can do it like this. We can say strong. And now the first paragraph is going to appear, let me save it, it's going to appear very bold. So we refresh it, and there it is. Now the other cool thing you can do, we've been using emphasis already. So you can actually use the two together. So you can do things like, let's say, we're going to have whatever you type will be separated by spacing. And spacing, this whole line here is in strong now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap spacing inside of the strong tags. Again, let me save it. So that you see that now it's both bold and italicized. Okay. Now, strong and emphasis, these are pre-HTML5 tags. I've said quite a bit so far about semantics, and semantics are important, semantic tags. As we use, and I encourage you to stay within the HTML5, strong and EM are now actually encouraged to be replaced with the tags I and B. All right, so what does I mean? Exactly. And B? Exactly. So we could just take strong, replace it with B. Remember, we got to have closing tag. We'll refresh it. We'll come over here and we'll look at our sample. And you can see it's still bold, right? We could check out the EM, replace it with I. Make sure you follow up with your closing tags. Let's see, save it, refresh it, and you can still see that it's bold. If you just want to see it as a sample to know that it's working, we can do it like this. We can wrap some text here. Be separated is the text we used. So we'll refresh it, and there it is. And the same thing with the B. Oh. Okay. There we go. Alan, did I lose you? I think I lost you there for Alan. All right, so here is the B. So we got this wrapped, and of course if we refresh it we can see that there's type there. All right, so let me squish this in a little bit. The other one that we have, let's see, We've done the B, we've done the I, we talked about replacing it. Let's go look at the figure. So anytime that we have, say, like an image or so forth, a video, a chart, a graph, an illustration, it's a good idea to use the figure tag. The figure tag, again, it's about semantics. So we want to semantically use the tags that are appropriate. Again, this is all for those screen readers that use this kind of stuff. You've probably seen figures in a magazine or newspaper articles or even online. So figure tags are usually done in two ways, or they come in two pieces. We have the figure itself. So I'm going to, inside my bottom P tag down here, I'm going to type figure, and I'm going to have the closing figure, and inside of this I'm going to put an image, and let's see, I'm going to be lazy, okay? Mr. Rogers, being lazy. I'm going to go out here and just reference, let's see, an image of the world. Yeah, this is a cool image. All right, so I'm on the image, right? I'm going to right click on it, copy the image address, and I'm being lazy just so I can use this in a figure. All right. Remember, always provide an alt. An alt is used by your screen readers. An image from space of the world. Right? What other tags do we have? Let's say we have our size, our height, our width. I don't want this to be ginormous on the page, so let's just use a width of, say, 25%. Okay? And then I'm closing my tag. All right, so if I take that, I save it. I'm going to close these because I don't want them anymore. I'll refresh my page. There's my image tag, right? And you can see that it is set back. Whereas if I took the image tag outside of the figure and did it like that, you can see that here outside of the figure, it's pushed in. Y'all see that? It's all the way against the wall of the browser. But inside the figure, it automatically creates that spacing. All right, so I'm going to take out that example, save it again. So now that we only have just the figure tag. And the second option that we have here is the fig caption. So fig caption, again, this is for your screen readers. It's something you don't have to have it, but it's a good idea, right? So you have your fig caption, and notice Atom here. It's automatically telling me the attributes that are available. So you can specify language. If I wanted to specify language, I could just say English, right? There's ID tags and so forth. Now I have the fig caption. Fig caption takes a text that describes the picture. So I'm going to do B for bold. I'm going to say figure 1, semicolon, close my B tag, right? And then I'm going to say this was an image that was captured from the space station in 2016. That sounds like a good lie. All right. Fig caption. I don't promote lying, okay? All right, so we have our fig caption. We're going to go back and refresh, and there you go. There's our fig caption. All right, any questions so far about what we've done? This is all basic textual editing, things that you can do. Any questions? Exactly. Exactly. The idea is, see, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. And when you look at it, it's supposed to mark up text in a way that semantically makes sense so that a browser can display it. I tell my my Java class that when they write their code, make your variables represent as close as possible to what they really are. This isn't like algebra where I just create an S and assign a number to it. Your code, your HTML, is semantically describing what it's used for. Okay? It's very important that we kind of think about that. All right, so I'm going to be honest with you. I have not used the fig caption in a very long time. So what if I move it to below? What do we think is going to happen? This is the fun of HTML. You literally could just do it and see what happens. What do you think is going to happen? All right, I'll press refresh because you guys are you're staring at me. There we go. I moved to the bottom, right? Fig captions, I believe you can move them outside of the caption, I think. Let's see, did I copied too much at one time. If we move it outside the figure, let's see what happens. We'll save it again, refresh it, and now you can see it's outside of the caption completely. To help you visualize this a little bit, I'm going to go in here to figure, and I'm going to define a style on this. Stop. There we go. And in my style, I'm going to say border. Let's see. Border 1 PX solid black. I think that's the right. I may have got this messed up in my head. Nope, there we go. Now you can see the border of the figure, right? So if we put the fig caption back inside of that and save it, you can see that it resides in that box, right? All right, so I showed you just a little bit of CSS here. And the CSS we're going to be getting into here in the next couple of weeks, but there's a lot more that you can do to make your elements expressive with CSS. And we are going to do that. We are going to make things look pretty, because right now you may be looking at it going, wow, this is ugly HTML pages. But I want to make sure that you guys have down the tags first before we get too far here. All right, so that's the fig caption. All right, so let's talk about citations. So let's see here. Citations tag are used to semantically draw awareness to a reference. Let me take out some things here because this is a little too much text. And I'm going to take out this bottom code piece. There we go. Trying to clean it up a little bit for our view so you can see things. All right, that's a little better. So let's think of an example here. Let's see. President Lincoln said for score, I think that's right. And all right. Now, the citation text, what we want to do here is we want to incorporate what President Lincoln said. So what we do, we're going to wrap the citation around that, okay? Let me see here for a moment. So we have President Lincoln said, actually this is a bad, let's see, President Lincoln visited, what was that, the famous battle site that he said this at, Gettysburg, right? All right, so let's wrap Gettysburg in a cite element. And then if we refresh, we can see that Gettysburg now is italicized. Again, this may seem odd. You may be going, well, Mr. Rogers, why don't I just use, you know, an italic mark or an emphasis mark? Remember the idea of semantics, right? We want to keep things semantically for the purpose that they're designed for, all right? So along with the cite, you can also, of course, you can attach language. Now, this may not make sense because, you know, this was a, this is a English US actually, right? Location. But semantically, you want to attach those. All right, so what about the quoted text? What about that? You can also quote something. And so right now I have single quote or double quotes, but it's also appropriate just to use the Q. And the reason we do that is because double quotes, they reserve special significance in coding. And so anytime that you're going to use quotes or single quotes in your code, you have to be very careful. If you accidentally put a closing tag in the wrong space, the quotes are going to make just everything look horrendous. Okay, so it's always a good idea to just use the quote for that. All right, so I put the quote on it. We'll come over here, we'll refresh, and you can see that my quote actually changed now. But the other thing is the text for the quote is unselectable. Do you see that? It's made it a little bit different. I'll tell you what I'm going to do here, because this is hard to read, I imagine, for you guys. So I'm going to come in here to my head, and I'm going to put a style tag. And for my body, I'm going to say font size 18 EM. Oh, too much. How about 12 EM? Let's see here. I think I'm using the wrong. let's do this. We'll get away from EM for a second and just use AT and PX. All right, I want y'all to be able to see this a little bit cleaner. There we go. That's a little bit bigger. Let's take it up to a 22. There. Can y'all see that better now? Okay. So President Lincoln visited Gettysburg. I'm using the site here, and then I use the quote tags here, right? All right. The other aspect is you can use the block quote. So let's say that we want to use the block quote right here. We'll just say block quote, and we're going to, I don't know, let's go all the way down to here. Block quote. Okay, so we save that, and now you can see that the block quote does something very similar to like the figure, right? It moves the text, indents it, brings it down out of the way. All right. Let's see here. What is our next topic? We have specifying time. All right. So when we're specifying time, I have right here a date set up. So one of the things that I could do is I could say, whoops, I'm typing out of all over the place, time Now let's pause for a moment. Why would I identify regular text with a tag for time? What do you think? Why would we do that? Why would I use a time tag on the page? Well, so far we've used different tags, right? Remember, semantically, we're setting things apart. We've used the code tag to mark up some code to make it stand out on the page differently. We've used the quote tag to make a quote look differently, right? I didn't show you this before, but if I put a regular quote inside of this and I refresh it, you'll see that the two quotes are different. You see that? This is a textual quote and this is a tag quote. So we've done these things to semantically make them stand out. But remember, when we're looking at data, we want to mark up our data the best we can so that people can actually think about, so that the browser can understand type. Type is something that you're going to really learn a lot more about later on in this class when we look at JavaScript, or if you all take my Java class. Typing is important, and that's what we're doing here with a lot of this. We're wrapping things in a manner so that the type of text can be handled better. And this becomes, again, very important for screen readers, for those who are visually impaired. It helps them to interpret the time better. Okay? All right, so time by itself right now, this is not going to do a whole lot other than we've just wrapped this in time. But specifically what we want to do with a date like this is we want to say date time as an attribute, and we want to specify some type of formatting, right? So let's say my date time here, I'm going to use a specified format. So we're going to say 2020, oops, 2020. Then we're going to give a date month, and then a 2-digit day, right? Now we can take it even further. If we want to be very exact, we can specify the time with the T letter. And then we can say something like the time being 23 colon 59. All right. Save that. We will refresh it. And again, that doesn't mean a lot to us, but the browsers are going to interpret that. And it's going to have special significance to screen readers. You can also break up your date time text. You can embed like not embed, I'm sorry. You can have my mind's gone blank here. You can specify down to the millisecond. You can specify to the second. You can wrap text just with a 2-digit month and 2-digit year. There's a whole realm of things that you can do there with time. Now, the reason why we want to use time is it provides the time and date in valid machine readable format. And again, this is only for your screen readers. Okay, so we got our time elements. Let's go ahead and look at what else we have. We have abbreviations. Oops, I misspelled something here. So let's look at, say, President Lincoln visited Gettysburg and said 40 and so many years ago. Let's see. He likes the NFL. Obviously, President Lincoln does not like the NFL. All right, so with an abbreviation, what do? Well, we wrap it with a BBR, and just like this, closing a BBR. And of course, if you refresh that, there's not a lot to it, right? Not a lot being represented there. So let's go ahead and give it a title to the ABBR. So we can say title, like, do not know why Adam wants to be so helpful with me. Are you okay, Jinwoo? Okay. So we have National Football League. So then we have our title on that. We'll refresh it. And now you can see that there's an actual hover over. You can see the ... that represents the title for it. All right, so real quick here, let's find something else that we could type a title for our abbreviation for. Do you all have a abbreviation you want to use? I'm going to do an easy one for everyone. So we have ABR CNMI. So we supply the title for it. And then we can, let's say, Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. And then there's your abbreviation. Okay. I think I left out something here. Let me go back real quick. There was one particular... I think it was in citations. Hang on. Yes, it is this. It is the citation. All right, so let's go back and look at the block quote. I'm going to go out to the web real quick and grab the Gettysburg address. Yeah, this looks like a good spot. And here we go. We're going to copy this. I'm going to go into my block quote. Going to paste that in. I'm going to grab the link. Okay, this is important for your block quote. And what you want to do is with your block quote, you also have the cite attribute. And with the cite attribute, you want to attach the reference to where you got your quote from. All right, so I'll come back to my page. I'm going to refresh it. There's the block quote, and the citation is attached to it. Now, did we do something wrong there? Cite? No, everything is good. This gives you, again, readability. It also tracks back to where you get your information. All right, so we've done abbreviations. Let's go ahead and look at defining a term. So to define a term, we use the dfinn tag. dfinn. So you just type dfinn, and you would type in some text for that. Let's see here. Let's see. Gettysburg address. Seriously? I like Adam, but Adam sometimes tries to be too helpful to me. All right, so you attach the definition tag. We'll go ahead and we'll refresh it. And of course, what it does for us is it semantically wraps it again in the italics. All right. With your definition tag, you can put it in a hyperlink. You can do all kinds of things there. So let's see. You can wrap your DFN tags around abbreviation tags. You can wrap them around regular text and so forth. In the DFN tag, the title, just like the abbreviation tag, is optional. So you can supply a title, some text for the definition, yada, yada. All right, whatever. And you refresh it. There's your title, and hover over it and it gives you the title, just like you would if you're hovering over CNMI. All right. The next item I want to show you is creating superscripts and subscripts. Superscripts and subscripts. You guys all know what superscripts and subscripts are, right? You've seen them in mathematical text quotations, right? You've seen them probably in Microsoft Word, where you can have a supertext or a superscript or a subscript. So let's go ahead and do a quick one. Now the textbook, it basically gives an example of a footnote, right? So what I want to do is I have a figure here, and I'm going to demonstrate with an ID tag. And I'm going to call this, let's see, picture of Earth is my ID. And I'm going to come up here and folks on the space station are cool. Look at this image. All right. So I want to reference, make this text point to this figure down here. And the way we do that is we're going to say href equals quotes. And we have to use the hashtag symbol. And we have to specify the ID. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to copy the ID, put it next to the hashtag. All right. Close the quotes. I'm going to give a title tag because remember we're trying to be nice to screen readers and so forth. Link reference to image of Earth from space. All right, now I have my image here and I'm going to wrap it. Let's see, wrap it with the closing A tag. All right, now I'm going to get into talking about superscript and subscript in just a second, okay? But I want to show the href for a moment. So we have the image, and of course this is referencing down here. Now if I had a lot of text, what it would do is it would just basically scroll the page up to put you right on top of that image, okay? So how do we get the subscript? So easy way to do this, we're going to type sup, and I'm just going to put 1 closing tag sup. This is all inside of my image tag, right? So I'm going to refresh it, and then there's the subscript. This is an easy way to give the appearance of linking to things and so forth. All right. Additionally, you could do the same thing. Say that we wanted down here on the page, we wanted to have a footer. We haven't talked about the footer tag yet. Footer tag is, again, it's semantically, it's something that says, hey, that there's going to be something in the footer. Now, you could put the footer anywhere you want to on the page, but we want to put the footer at the bottom because that's semantically where we put things. So we're identifying some text. I'm going to say P ID, let's see, footnote -1, and we'll close that, and I'm going to again use my superscript 1, close my superscript, and image taken by NASA. All right, close my P tag. All right, so I have this down here like that. So let's say now that I want to go to my figure, and I'm going to add a reference inside my figure. Let's put it inside the figure caption. And what we'll do is we'll wrap our B tag, and we'll say A, href, got our quotes, got a title for our link to footnote, because that's really what this is. And we'll go ahead and close that. We'll put it around our B tag. There's our A. Now, here's our 1. And so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap the 1. Right? And I'm going to give my reference to the footnote. So I'm going to copy it here and go in there. Now, what am I missing? On purpose, I left something out of that footnote. What did I leave out? Oh, that href, excuse me. Exactly. The hashtag is used to specify the ID. Now, this is something that's even used when in CSS. They carry this same type of semantic coding into CSS. So in CSS, you'll see things as hashtag the ID in the CSS, and it's giving a style specifically to one element. On a side note, if we use the class attribute, and I give a name, the class attribute uses a dot notation in front of it. We'll get into those things later. All right, so let's go ahead and test it, right? So here is image 1. There it is. If I click on it, it would take me down to the footnote if I had big enough space. All right, so let's talk about some other things here. We've got the superscript. Subscript is done just like the superscript. Okay, so if we, I don't have to go through all the effort here of doing all that, but let's just say sub. Well, I'm going to say 10/sub, right? And what that does again is it's going to put a 1 or a 10 beside Lincoln in subscript, right? In your HTML, it's always a good idea if you're going to use superscript or subscript, always wrap those with an href tag because you want to point it to some place. It's just better to do it that way. Okay, you want the users to be able to navigate to the location for that information. Okay, let's go on here. When you get into CSS, there are some other things that you can do to adjust the subscript, like the font size, the line height, position, and so forth. All of that's listed in Chapter 4. All right, so other things that you can add is like adding contact information. This is also becoming important when you use these tags on your cell phones because your cell phones are now interpreting tags like address and automatically shooting them over to some type of page app, right? So if you say address, P.O. Box 12345 you guys thought I was going to give you my address, didn't you? Saipan MP 96950. All right, so that gives you address. Now, address, it could be email, it could be any number of things. It could be street address, P.O. Box, so forth. Okay, so you can see address here. It puts it in italicized. You could change it out, and you could say my email address is a href and by the way, when you use an href to do an email, you have to pre-pend it with a scheme. So you're going to say mail to michael.rogers@mymarianas.edu. Okay. Close your bracket, and then you could type the same thing if you wanted to. I'm just going to say here because I don't want to type anymore. All right, so I'll save that, and now there is my email address is here. If you try this, go ahead and try it on your box, on your computer. What it'll do, your browser will open up on your computer or your tablet or your phone the default mail application is what it'll do. It'll open it up and it'll should automatically populate that mail application with the email address. I don't like these because I don't use a default mail application on my computer. I always use Gmail or something else, but that's what it'll do. Okay. Any questions so far? Any question? Semantically, it's always a good idea to group this type of information in a footer, but you don't have to. Okay? You don't have to put it there. It's just semantically it makes sense to do that. Okay? All right, let's go ahead. Consider some other ideas. Your textbook talks about noting edits in inaccurate text. So there are two elements that do this. One is the INS element, okay, and the other is the delete element. The INS element, it represents content that's been added, and the delete element marks content that has been removed. It doesn't matter where you use these, all right? So the common example that we see for this is like with a list item. We haven't got into list items yet, but I'm going to let Adam create this for me. Actually, let me do this again. We're going to say an unordered list item. I'll hit enter, li. There's my list item. And say I want to let the person know that this is new. I would say INS content about Abe Lincoln's birth. Again, always wrap it in the closing tag. If you come to your new LI statement, new list item statement, you could enter other details. If we save that and refresh it, we get information like this. And what it does is it alerts us that it's been added. Well, what does it look like if we are removing it? If we remove it, we say DEL for deletion. Go ahead and create your closing tag. Okay. We save it, we refresh it, and it gives you the strike through of the text. Now, the nice thing about this is that strike through lets you know that something was removed without completely removing it, right? It kind of alerts the user that, you know, whatever content you have, it's being removed or it was recently removed if they were looking for it. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. Let's go ahead and try, let's see here. All right, so we looked at marking up code at the start. I gave you some examples of how to use the code tag. We already have done that. I think did we look at pre-formatted text? I don't think we did yet. All right, so let's do the pre-formatted text. Pre-formatted actually works great with what we have here around the code element. So the pre-formatted text basically is just alerting the browser that there's a code element that's in place, right? So we've wrapped pre around code, and we refresh that, and this gives us that nice look and feel. Okay. Let's see. I think we're pretty close here to going ahead and switching. There's a couple of more pieces I want to show you. One of them is the highlighting of text. The other is creating line breaks, span elements like divs and spans, and then there's some other elements that we could look at, but most of these are at the end of your text. Let me go ahead and show you what the mark text would look like. So we're going to take Abraham Lincoln. We're going to wrap him with mark. Closing. And what this does is it gives you the appearance of a highlighter. Okay. It's just pretty straightforward. Yeah. Just kind of makes the code highlight. Now you will see that today during your assignment. The other one, let's see, line breaks. Okay. Say we have this huge body of text that you see here, and we want a line break inside of here. Well, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to type B, let's see, BR space / closing tag, right? And you can do it just like that as well. What this will do is it'll create a line break in this area on the page, and you can see that there's the line break now. You can do 2 of them. So I'm going to copy, paste, and now it'll actually throw an extra line break in there. Okay. The line break tab, you might find some code out there that doesn't use the \. Because we're using HTML5, you need to make sure you use the \. Now some of the code out there will not use it, and they'll just type BR and just put it in the opening and closing greater than, less than symbols. But you want to make sure that you include the appropriate piece there. All right, last element we have are spans and divs. And a span element, this is used primarily just for a piece of text. You would use it inside of around a particular word or something. And a span by itself, really, it doesn't do anything. Okay. Spans are used primarily when you're trying to highlight the text with some type of style. So right here I have this piece of code highlighted in a span, and if I refresh it, you don't really see anything. If I come in here and I give it a style and just say color blue, it'll basically take that piece of text on the page and it'll make it blue. And so now you can see that's really what spans are used for. It's just wrapping individual pieces of text. Whereas divs are used for mapping whole bodies of text. For example, I have down here this UL tag, and I'm going to wrap it in a div and a closing div. And again, these are used basically for wrapping blocks of text, but they're used for doing things stylistically. So you would come in here and do style. Later on, we're not going to use style, we'll use classes. But for right now, you could use style. You could say color is red. We got a semicolon, so now I can type in another statement. I'll say, let's see, font is Tahoma. Yeah, that'll work. And if I refresh it, you'll see down here that there's the content. I think I've did, font family. There you go. So I've changed the type of font, have made things look a little bit different. That's what your styles and your divs are basically for. Now the attributes that are important on these are always the class, the direction. Remember, direction will say left or right. Your ID for the div or the span, the language type that you're specifying, and a title. All right. And then there are other elements that are available. There is the U element, which is basically it. It's like the B element. It's for underlining text. So you could come in here and I've got the word separated, so I'm just going to put a U around it, and I'm going to underline this text, and it'll underline that word separated. We already talked about the B, the I. Yeah. There is another one. This is called the WBR element. This is a cousin to the line break. And they call this line break with opportunity. You use it in between words or letters in long unbroken phrase to indicate where it should wrap. So if I have a super long word, I'll use this and it will just break that word for us. Okay. All right. Let's see. I think that is it. All right. So what I want you guys to do, this is the sample. Let's go ahead and open up the course and go to week 2. We're going to go to the homework assignment. I'm going to go ahead and download this, and I think I got logged out. There we go. Okay, so I have my homework assignment here. I'm going to take this and let's see, copy it. I'm going to go to my folder, my NMC folder, CSS-2. I'm going to create a new folder in here and call it Homework 3. Actually, I don't need to do that. We're just going to paste the item right in here. And I'm going to rename it and take out that 2. Now in your Windows boxes, you may have to do a little different, but on the Mac, as soon as I unzip this, it's going to create the folder for me. So make sure that's inside my CS-222 folder. All right, so here is our homework instructions and our homework text. I'm going to open up the homework text first for you. And you can see that you just basically have text, okay? Very straightforward. You have an images folder with a stealth, and we have our instruction document, here's our instruction document. We're going to create this page, and we're going to do what's necessary on this page step by step to make it look like it. So we're going to use the different tags. Okay, and this is your homework assignment. Now, we didn't get down to the Ruby text. This is in the last page of chapter 4, last section. Just make sure you take a moment to look at that. There's also a meter that you can set up. Very easy to use, though. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to squish this over here a little bit, because we're going to be clicking around a lot. I've got my text, and I'm going to go up here and say, let's see, I'm going to close it, and then I'll come back into it. File, open, and go to this one, CSS-222. Here's our homework folder. Okay, I'm just going to open that up. And first thing we need to do, of course, is we need to create our HTML file. So right-click on the homework 01, create a new file. And based on the assignment, where's my document at? Word document. Based on the assignment, what are we going to call this? We're going to call it HW04, right? All right, so new file, we're going to call it hw04.html. All right. Are you guys with me so far? Okay, so using Atom, we're going to type in just the text HTML, hit enter, let it create for us the standard stuff that we need. Okay, and we're going to start at the top here. So we're going to, number one, we're going to create this header. Well, number one says apply all headings to H1. So each heading is enclosed in an article element. Okay, so each heading is enclosed in an article element. So we have fighter procedure projects pick up speed. Fighter procurement projects pick up speed. So this entire piece here down to here is enclosed in an article. That's what we're seeing. So we'll go into our body. I'm going to let Adam do the work for me. Okay, so I have my article. Now I'm going to create an H1. I have my H1. Let's go over here and copy first line of text. So I'm going to cut it so I know I'm done with it instead of copy it. Paste it in there. I have it. All right. So let's go over here in our Chrome browser now. We're going to open this file. Go to the location where it's at. So homework 04, our HTML file. We'll open it, and there's our first header. And if we look at it, it should match what we have here. That looks pretty close. All right, looks pretty good. So the next thing is we have the published date. So let's take a look here. Published date is what? It is number 2. Let's go down here and look at number 2. Apply the publication date for the article, September 31st. You should use the time element and the date time and the pub date attributes. Okay. So let's pull up our text. I'm going to copy this. I have a feeling that all of this should be in a So we have a datetime attribute. And our datetime attribute, according to our Word document, should use the time element and the date time and the pub date attributes. So we have date time. We have the, whoops. There's our pub date. We didn't talk about the pub date, but we'll just kind of work through it as we go here. All right, so the time date. Let's see here. Let me squish this over a little bit so we can see it better. We have how should this be represented? We can do it like 2014, 31, and whoops, 09, 31, time 21, 35. Okay, go and save that. We'll come back to the pub date later. Refresh it. There we are so far. And looks pretty close. Yep. All right. So the next thing is number 3, South Korea. So let's pull up our text. I am absolutely certain this is going to be in a p tag, right? So paste that in there. We'll save it. Go back to our text. Refresh it. There it is. But the difference is this is in bold, right? So let's go down to number 3. Apply this paragraph to a paragraph is important. Use strong element for the paragraph. All right, well, the text is telling us that we should use bold, okay? But for this homework assignment, it's calling for strong, so we'll stick with the text that Mr. Hayes used. I'm applying a closing tag inside the p tag at the end of that statement. I'm going to go to the beginning and put my strong. I'm sorry? Okay. So we have that. Now it's in bold. But we also have to, number 4, I'm assuming that is use the emphasis tag, right? So strong element for the tag, emphasis for defense acquisition program. All right, so let's go down to the end. Here is defense acquisition. We're going to use EM. Closing EM. We save it, refresh it. There it is. It's in quotes. All right, so let's compare it. Yeah, it looks about right. So the next thing is this text here. At the committee, top defense officials are to approve the building. All right, so number 5, what does number 5 say? Add the block quote to the paragraph. All right, so let's go to the text. This is the quote here. I'm going to copy it. It says to add it to the paragraph. So I'm assuming we're going to keep it in the existing paragraph. So I'm going to come up here and type block quote, paste in the text. We saved it. I'm going to refresh. There it is. The block quote requires this citation tag. Do y'all see that? So we're going to copy that. This is in your Word document. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to go to the site and paste that information into the site. Save it. Come back in and save it. refresh it. All right. Next thing that we see, we're still on number 5, I believe, because there's also some other items. We have to put KFX in quotes. So if we look down at the bottom, it's most likely number 6 going to tell us to apply the quote element. So let's find KFX. Where is that at? Let me just do a search. KFX. There it is. So we're going to apply KFX to the quote elements. We'll say Q, right? You guys are staying with me, right? All right, so because we're doing your homework together. Slow down a little. All right. So let's see here. We refresh it. There is KFX. It's in the quotes now. Okay. Let's go back to our Word document. Number 6 says apply the quote element. We did that. Number 7, apply DFN to the FX element. Well, let's go back up and look at our image again. DFX, number 7, to the FX. All right. So number 7, DFN, definition to the FX. Where is that at? I'm going to spread this out a little bit more because I'm having a hard time finding this. So FX, there it is. There's FX. All right, let's go back up to our image again. I want to make sure we got it in the right spot. FX in the military. FX in the military. There it is. So I'm going to create my DFN attribute. It's a data definition, right? Closing DFN. We'll save it. Back to our page. Refresh. Now there's the definition attribute on it. We didn't have to apply like a title to this. All we had to do was just, according to our Word document, all we had to do is just put the DFN on it. All right, so let's go back to our Word document again. So that was number 7. Now we need to go to number 8, which number 8 is the abbreviation, abbreviations.com. All right, so let's go down to number 8 down here. Number 8 says link this URL to that link and surround the URL with the site element. Okay. So we're going to go to the reference. Going to create our site. Right? We're going to put an href on it, paste in our link. Okay. Close that link inside the site. Closing link. All right, so I've got a site. Inside of it, I've got an ahref with the link. Then I've got the plain text element and the closing tags. All right. Surround the URL with the site element. So we surrounded the URL with the site element. Okay. I'm going to go back to the page. I'm going to refresh it again. There it is. Right? All right. So let's go back to our text again. The next one, it says emphasize Defense Acquisition Program Administrator. This is number 9 in our list. All right, I don't know what that's referring to, so I'm going to go back to the top. And number 9 is a new block quote. Not a new block quote, it's a new paragraph, it looks like. So let me go back down again. Whoops. Let's go back down again here. Emphasize Defense Acquisition Program. All right. Let's go pull up our text. I'm going to copy this text right here. And I'm going to create a new paragraph because I'm not for certain about what they're saying here. But I've got my new paragraph. Inside of it, I'm going to paste my text. Okay? So there we go. Now I'm going to show you guys something to help you out. Okay? Sometimes the text gets so big it's hard to read. Because it's in a paragraph, it does not matter that I'm hitting enter and spacing it out. But I'm doing that just for my own benefit so I can read it better. Okay? Even though I'm hitting space and I'm breaking up in between these EM, it doesn't matter because the way this works, the paragraph tag is going to appropriately wrap everything for me. Okay. Now I've made the text like this. If I refresh the page, it didn't change the original layout. Okay. All right. So let's go back again to our Word document. Number 9 says add emphasis to Defense Acquisition Program Administrator. So here is Defense Acquisition Program Administration. So I'm going to add the emphasis, EM, closing EM. Okay. Number 10, apply figure element and put the figure caption. All right, so there's all of this information here in number 10 that we have to do. All right, so let's go up here and look at where number 10 is. Number 10 is right here. So you know what? I'm going to put number 10 inside of this paragraph. Okay? So we're going to type figure, and we're going to type fig caption to get some of the work done for us. I'm going to go over here to my text. Here's my figure. Okay. Paste that in there. Now I have to make this text look like this image. Do y'all see that? It's got to look like it. So underneath my fig caption, I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to type img source, and I need to use the image that's in here. So I'll type img because I'm on path with it, and that image is stealth JPEG. So stealth.jpg. I'm going to provide an alternate image of a stealth fighter and space, just like that. Closing quotes. All right, so let's save it. Let's open back up our window again. We'll refresh it. There's our stealth fighter. Okay, let's go back to our directions one more time. We had number 10. It tells us we need to do certain things here. So let's go down and look at number 10 again. Apply the figure element, figure capture, which is that. The file name is stealth JPEG under the image folder. The width, Ah, we left something out. So we got to apply the width to the image. So we're going to say width equals 200 px, and the height is 150 px. Class, please make sure you don't put spaces in between the px element and the number. Okay, they have to be together. All right, let's save it. Go back to our browser again. Okay, so now our element has shrunk down. That looks about right. So let's go back to our document one more time. Back up and look at what we have here. So number 10 is done. So now we have number 11, which is observers say, all right. So I'm going to go back to my text. I'm going to copy this text here. Come down. I'm going to create a new paragraph element. Paste it in. And again, I'm just going to do this for my own purpose so I can make it easier to see everything. Okay? So I've spaced it a little bit better for my own reading. Let's refresh the page again. All right, there's our text. Okay, so we got the first part of that done. Number 11 tells us we have to do certain things in number 12 as well. So let's go look at number 11 again one more time. Number 11 says apply the site element to the KFX project. All right, so here's the KFX. So we're going to apply site and site again. Okay, refresh it, go back to your page. There it is. It's got the site element on it. The number 11 says that. Number 12 says highlight 20 trillion 1. All right. You guys remember which one we use, right? It's the mark. Mark is short for marker. So we're going to highlight this whole text. And the default color for mark is yellow. If you wanted to change this, you could. You would just have to apply a style to it, a style tag, or you could do it inside of this. Just say style, and I think it's background color. Let's just say green. If we refresh it, there it is. It's green. I don't like that color though, so I'm just going to take the style out. Refresh it again. It should go back to yellow. There you go. All right, so that is number 12. Number 13, it talks about something. So let's go back up again and look at number 13. Number 13, we have to insert this other piece of text again. And then we're going to insert a footnote referencing number 13. So let's go back to our text element. Here it is. Copy again. I'm going to create another paragraph. Paste in my text. Going to just kind of clean it up a little bit, make it readable again. Okay. All right, so we got that part done. Now we have the element here, but the directions say what? The directions say that we have to put this superscript, and they want us to do something else with it as well. So number 13, insert 1 as the superscript, and we're going to, which means it, let's see, to footnote 1, which is going to connect down here with number 16, okay? So we're going to insert a 1 as a superscript and link that to subscript 1, ID footnote. All right, so here is the FX. We're going to change that 1 into a soup. Save it, go back to our text. Okay, it's a soup, a superscript, but according to this, we also have to add it as a link. So we're going to come in here inside the superscript. We're going to add a link, a href, quotes, a closing. And the link, according to this, it has to be to footnote 1. All right. Now we don't have footnote 1 yet. So any ID that we link to, we have to use the hashtag. So we say hashtag footnote -1. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and save that, refresh our screen again. There it is. And if we hover over it, when you hover over it, you'll notice at the bottom, I don't know if you can see at the bottom of my screen, it says File, User Michael Rogers, NMC, CSS, gives the HTML, and then it says hashtag footnote 1. Okay. That tells us it's successfully there. All right, let's go back again to our Word document. We're going to keep popping back and forth here. So we do this. All right, so we got 13 done. We got to create another tag, another paragraph for this regarding the project. Because we haven't done that yet. Go back to our text. So we're going to copy this one. Come down here again, do another paragraph. Paste in our text. Okay, save that. Go back over here. Okay, that looks like that matches. Does it match here? Yes, it does. So we have regarding, and then we have something down here for Soul seeks to sign. So it looks like we got to add another one, another paragraph tag. So come down here, do a paragraph, enter. Pretty straightforward stuff so far. Just making the text readable. All right. Let's go back to page, refresh it. Okay, there's Soul. Let's look at our Word document. And there is Soul there. All right, we're almost done, guys. We're coming down to the wire. All right, number 14. So we need the DAPA is the DAPA text. We have two things we got to do in number 14. All right, so go back to our source. Oops, go back to our source text. Got the DAPA here. Copy it. Create another paragraph. Okay. Save it. Go back, refresh our page again. I don't know if you caught something here, but it's very iterative. We go step by step, iteratively do something and then test it. All right. Go back to our Word document. All right, the Word document says number 14 and number 15. All right, so what does 14 and 15 point to? 14 is we have to apply the abbreviation to DAPA. All right, so we're going to come over here, type ABBR abbreviation, and we'll do the closing abbreviation. And 14 says, let's see, 14 says DAPA. When hovering on the mouse, it should say Defense Acquisition Program Administration. So we're going to add to the DAPA a title. There we go. paste the information in there. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and look at number 15. Number 15 is similar to number 13. So we're going to insert a 2. Here's the 2. So we're going to go ahead and say soup. Close the soup. Going to add the hyperlink, a href. Close the hyperlink. 15 says that it should point to footnote 2. So again, it's pointing to an ID, so we use the hashtag footnote -2, which is number 16, which we're going to do here in a second. The fighter, which is in fighter X. All right. Let's go ahead and refresh what we have so far and revisit our screen just to make sure everything looks right. All right, so there's DAPA. We hover over it, it works. There's FX2. The link is pointing to footnote 2. And that means that we have the next piece of text. And this looks like a footnote. So I'm assuming that all of this is in the footnote. So I'm going to copy it. And let's look at this. This whole section here looks like it's in a footnote. So number 16, 17, and 18, and 19, and 20. Yeah. So I'm going to come down here. We're going to create a footer. And I'm just going to paste the text in for a moment. So now we have to create the links. All right, so we have to use the superscripts. So we're going to say sup and close the sup. Right? And same thing for this one. Sup and close sup. All right, I'm going to refresh to see what we have so far. All right, so there it is, but it's not looking very pretty, right? Let's go look at our Word doc real quick here. The Word doc has it lined up like this. Now, how are we going to do that? How are we going to get it lined up like this? Well, let's use a UL, and I'm going to cut the stuff and put it right here. I'm going to put an LI, go to the end of the line, do a closing LI. Come over here, type another LI. Let's make this look pretty. Over here, do the closing LI. And save it. Oh, no, that's not right, because that doesn't look right. Let's take out that UL and the LIs. And there's a couple ways we could do this. We could put it in footers. We could put it in paragraph tags, or we could put it in line breaks. Let's just go ahead and use a paragraph tag. Okay. And I'm going to do it in reverse there. Well, let's refresh our page. All right, that looks better. Let's look at our Word doc. Yeah, that looks about right. Now we have to supply the links, remember? So according to this, we have to supply the IDs for this. So I'm going to say ID footnote -1 ID footnote -2. Okay. Go back to our page here. We'll refresh it. And so far everything looks pretty straight. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to squish this in a little bit. I'll squish it in a little bit more because I want to test my footnote. So here's number 2. Where was the first footnote at? Do you remember? The link. There it is. If I click on it, it brings me down to it. Did you see that? That's the way these in-place hyperlinks work. They bring you down to the element. All right. Let's go back again to our doc. So we got 16 done. 17 says, I bet that we need to use some type of small text. So we need to insert copyright symbol. Okay. Let's go ahead and wrap this in a paragraph tag. And 17, insert the copyright symbol and apply the small element to the copyright symbol. All right. So by the Sang-Ho Corporation. All right. So let's see here. I don't think did I show you the copyright symbol yet? Does anyone want to look it up real quick? It is, all right, let me look it up for you real quick. All right, so this is what you're going to do. You're going to use this piece of code right here, @copy, okay? And if you click save on that and upload, refresh, you'll see that now you have the copyright symbol. But what we have to do is we have to apply the small text to that. And now your copyright is small. Okay. Did you guys see how I did that? Here's your copyright symbol. This is a key code. It's an HTML name code. And we're going to get into a bunch more of these here in the future. And then wrap it with small. All right, let's go back to the document. Guys, we're over time. Are you all okay? Okay, I don't want to, if you guys got to go, I don't want you to be held up by me, because I am going to post this video. So if you all want to go back and review it, you can. All right, so that was number 17. Insert the copyright symbol. Now here's the thing. Yeah, that's right. All right, number 18. Apply subscript to number 2. All right, so here's the subscript. Right? They're trying to say H2O, and so if you're going to do the chemical expression of H2O, the 2 has to be a subscript. All right, so we do that. Go back to our document. No problem. You have a good weekend. All right, so there's your H2O. It's got the subscript now. Last part of the Word document, let's see. It was 18. 19, apply a line break to each line in the address. All right, so let's look at this. here's the address, right? So let's go ahead and take our address, and we're going to put it inside the paragraph. And I'm going to space that over. If you want to space things, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing there. You highlight the whole text, and then you can hit tab, and it'll move it all for you. All right. So how do we put the line breaks? We do the open tag br/close, right? So we're going to do that and that. All right. Refresh it. There's the address. What else do we have left? Executive summary. All right, so executive summary, we know, is a highlighted text. So we're still inside of our footer. So I'm going to do an H1, executive summary, closing H1. And we're going to refresh it again. Oh, I didn't save. There we go. So refresh it. There it is. Executive summary. Next piece is line 20. We have this whole big paragraph. We're going to copy it. Do another paragraph tag. Going to do this, make it easier for me to read. Okay. Tab this guy over a little bit. Actually, let's put the executive summary inside of my paragraph. Okay. Refresh our page. Okay, so there we got our executive summary. All right, so number 20 is probably the strikeout, and 21 as an insert, I bet. Yep, 21 is strikeout, and the other one is insert. So we're going to use the delete, and we're wrapping that around there. And the insert, INS. Okay. I'm going to save it again, refresh it. There you go. We got the delete and the insert. Next items up to do is 22 is this TNP. Put open angle brackets around T and P. All right. So I believe we do. Let's see here. Y'all forgive me. Mine's going blank. Let us see the. We want to use the open angle brackets, so we're going to so TNP, is it listed down here? Where was it supposed to be? Take note, papyri. All right. So what you're going to do, you got to take out that, and you have to put less than. So it's ampersand LT semicolon. And the same thing the other direction. So ampersand right, let's see, greater than, right? So you got the ampersand, LT, so forth, and the other. All right, so we save that, refresh it. Now you have the code in place. All right. I'm going to share a site with you guys, and let's see here. Where is the site will have all of the HTML codes that you need. And you want to use the HTML name code, not the code number itself, okay? But that's how you get to those. Okay, guys, at this point, I have another meeting I have to go to. We are 95% done with your assignment. So the remaining pieces are the Ruby text and the meter. Well, let's see. You have the pre-formatted text, which is this piece here, the Ruby text, and the meter element. The rest of this is found in your textbook, okay? And I think you guys should be able to figure out the rest on your own, right? Pretty straightforward. All right, if you have any questions, please send me an email. I have a meeting I have to be to here in about 25 minutes, so I can't continue right now. All right, you all have a good evening, good weekend. Again, if you have questions, just send the questions along. All right. Yep, no problem.